There was a lot of points where I felt like the walls really were surrounding me. I became very aware at that point that the feelings I'd had for a long time of loneliness and depression and this relentless sadness, it became something more, and there became a point where I wanted to die.
Three oatmeal Buccaneers, 5 flat white with gravy.
My name's James Fildes. I'm the founder and managing director of Space North East, and I'm from Sunderland. Up until like 16-year-old, I was a super energetic, happy, bubbly lad. And my parents separated, and I took it really hard. The idea that wasn't a thing anymore. Like it was just, you know, I shared a bedroom with my two brothers until I was probably about 11 or 12. You grow up so tight-knit, and that's all you build your perception of the world in, and you think that's how the world is, and that's how the world will always be. But then when that changed, it was like a real shock to my system. And things went pretty bad after that. I think I dropped out of sixth form pretty quick. I was not in a good place. I was a different person to who I felt like I was when I was younger. And I vividly remember not knowing why, and not knowing what it was. But all I knew was I felt like there was no way out. That's the only way I could try and describe the way I felt. That there was never an end to how I was feeling. That was a really dark place to be. The turning point began, at the time I was about 25, 26. Everything I'd tried that I thought was what I wanted hadn't worked. I'd been suicidal for 2 years. I'd thought about it every single day. And I decided that today was the day I was going to take my own life. And when I was ready to do it, this sort of voice in my head, like it was my voice, it was me, it said, you cannot do that. It was like a really clear voice that was just saying, like, you've got too much to give to kill yourself. Like you can't do that. I remember I pictured all the pain I felt inside, and I envisioned all this feeling I'd had for 10 years just on the wall, and I sort of imagined what it would look like like all the sadness and darkness that I felt. What would that actually look like if it was out of me? And it was just like this big, black, swirling mass of just desolation and just sadness and hopelessness. And I just, honestly, at the top of my lungs, I just screamed. It was just frustration and anger and sadness, and, you know, I was just this huge release of emotion. And I felt this, like, for a second, I felt this relief. And it was like, for the first time, I felt like I had my hands on the wheel, and it was the only thing that had ever managed to give me some relief from this pain. And I said, okay, one last try. I'm gonna go and do something I've never done before. I wanna go to the doctors. On the 20th of April 2022, Space North East had our first support group. We had 8 lads turn up, none of which knew each other, and they all feel, to some degree, the way I did, opening up to each other and listening to each other and supporting each other, talking about, you know, suicide and hard times and depression and all these different things. These were just normal blokes from Sunderland. I just thought, the wind is in my sails here, there's something happening, like this has to become a thing. And it blew up. The groups started to get bigger, and we went from like fortnightly groups to weekly groups. I quit my job. I quit my job to start and do this because I wanted to do it. I just thought, you know, if I'm going to do anything, I've never done anything 100% all my life, and I've failed at everything. I'm not going to fail at this. So I quit my job and I went, I'm going 100%, and went to do Space full time. I was working in a coffee shop, and I thought, like, people enjoy just chatting over a coffee, don't they? Like, it was just this thing that was just jumped out, and I thought, like, is this a really nice medium for people to talk. Our biggest challenge was telling people that we were here. Because when they knew, the people who needed it were turning up and they were staying. People weren't coming and leaving, they were coming and they would stay. We've had lads there who've been there for 3 years. I thought, how can I reach more lads? So I thought, I need to do a coffee van. That's a really nice way I can go, serve them a coffee, hand them a leaflet, and if that's all it is, job done. And so we did, we set the coffee van up in October 2024. Since then, we have reached thousands of people. People resonate with the idea that, we are coming to you. You don't have to do anything, you can be at work. But I'm gonna come to you, I'm gonna give you a coffee, and that's all it has to be. But if it needs to be more, it can be more. It was removing any of them barriers that have probably typically been there forever. Space North East host our support 6 days a week, peer support and personal development groups every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We have boxing the first and last Thursday of the month, yoga every other Friday. We walk every Saturday morning down Fausto Roker. We walk on a Sunday morning at Backhouse Park in Ashbrook. That's every week, all free. We've got staff members who are trained counsellors, a team of volunteers. We've been doing this for 4 years, so we've helped a lot of people. But we're called Space North East for a reason. Our plans are for the next 12 months we'll be moving into Newcastle, eventually past that. And my vision is that we have our support services in every city in the North East in the next 5 years. It doesn't happen without you means your life is just as important to your family, friends, neighbours, the community. If one person thinks it's worth staying, then everybody should. All of us make life worth living for each other. I think every moment you've probably ever had in your life that lives with you, I guarantee that moment was shared. Imagine if Dan Ballard wasn't here for that header, that moment that we all shared in the stadium that night. That would live with us forever. Imagine if he wasn't here and it didn't happen. If we take that into consideration, you need to be here. It isn't the same without you, and it never will be. Whatever's happened before, there's nothing we can do about, but there's moments to be had in the future. And that's why you've got to stay, because ultimately it doesn't happen without you, but it does happen with you. And I think that's why you need to be here.